Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Home Together.
Yes, we're so pleased that you could join us. Now, last episode, we heard about a man called Ezekiel from the Bible. He was a prophet living in Babylon, the land of his enemies. God gave him a message of hope to share with the Israelite people by showing him a valley of dried up bones that came back to life as real people.
Yes, and we really loved seeing some of the pictures that you sent in from that episode.
Yeah, they were great. In fact, here's Isabella and Katrina clearly having a lot of fun. Here's Sandra's game that she's played with her mum. Here's Oscar's skeleton that he's made. And Donald and Leia, thank you for sharing these wonderfully colourful skeletons with us.
Oh, they're really good. Now, in this episode, we're going to meet another prophet. Mm-hmm. This one's called Jeremiah, and he visited a potter.
Yes. Now, a potter is someone who makes pots, isn't it, Stuart?
That's right, yeah.
I recently visited a friend of mine who is a potter and has a pottery. Here's how I got on. Hi everyone, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Sarah. Hi Sarah.
Hello, hi, nice to be with you all.
Sarah, you are a potter.
I am.
Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Would you like to tell us something about pottery and what you love about it?
Of course. Well, we've just made this pot, as you can see, and one of the things that I love about pottery is that it's so tactile. You have to be very gentle with it. And you centre your clay and then you're forming this amazing shape, and it's coming from literally nothing. All this clay just comes out of the ground. So you put it on the bat and you form this shape, and you can make it into anything you like. It goes wrong sometimes, but it's such a lovely feeling to make the shape that you want. It's a lovely, lovely feeling.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You have to be gentle with it. And like I said, it does go wrong sometimes.
Yeah. And is it something that any of us could have a try at?
Everyone can. The youngest person I've had have a go on the wheel and do it on their own is a 4-year-old.
Brilliant.
So, and the oldest person is a 98-year-old.
Love it.
So anybody can do it. You should go and have a go. It's brilliant.
Well, that was really interesting. But can we hear about Jeremiah when he visited a potter?
Absolutely, Stuart. We'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, here's a little activity for you to do at home together.
So for your wee activity today, you've got a card in your pack and a dice. What you need to do is, with some people in your house or a friend, you just roll the dice, see what number you get, and look at what it says on here. So I've just rolled a number 2. So it says on my card, say something nice about the person next to you. I don't have anybody next to me right now, but if I did, I might say that Mark, it makes a really good cup of tea. which maybe he could do for me now. And then you just pass it around, keep rolling your dice, and work through. You might, if you're lucky, get to dance like a chicken. Enjoy that game. Once you've done that, we'll get back to that story Mark and Stuart were talking about.
There was once an Israelite man called Jeremiah. He was a prophet, a special messenger from God. Like many of the prophets, God asked Jeremiah to do some very strange things to get people's attention. Once, he hid his belt in a rock until it rotted and became completely useless. God also sent a warning that the kingdom of Babylon would defeat them, and 30 years later, many Israelites, including Ezekiel and Daniel, were taken to live in Babylon by their enemy. God told Jeremiah to warn the people that they were not living the way they were meant to. They had lost what it meant to be his people. But God was willing to do anything to get them back. One day, God said to Jeremiah, "Go to the potter's house. I will give you my message there." So Jeremiah went to the potter's house. And there he saw him, working at his pottery wheel. But the pot he was working on became messed up in his hands. So the potter started again, shaping it as seemed best, making the same clay into another pot. God said that this was like him and Israel. He wouldn't give up on the people, but like the clay in the potter's hands, he would reshape them and make them what they were always meant to be. He would bring them back to himself, whatever it took.
Well, I thought that was a really powerful image, the idea of God as a potter and people being the clay.
It is, yeah. Stuart, I think it's important to ask when we hear stories from the Bible like this, what might this mean for us now? So I asked Sarah the Potter that question. Sarah, as a Christian now, what does this picture of clay being moulded and shaped and when it goes wrong, remoulded, what does that mean to you?
Well, basically, when you're moulding the clay, you have this piece of clay that's really nothing. It isn't any shape whatsoever, and we're creating a beautiful shape, and that, in my eyes, is what God is trying to do to us. If something goes wrong in our lives, which inevitably it does, we all make mistakes, we all have things going on that we'd rather weren't going on, but God is there to form our lives, and if we trust him, as you know, when I'm on the wheel, I trust myself to be making that shape, and I can correct it if it goes wrong. And just as that happens, God can help us if we allow him in our lives. He will form us, and he will form us into a wonderful shape, and he'll be there when things do go wrong, and that shape might go a little bit squiffy, and he'll help us mould ourselves back into that shape. And that's what God's doing, and that is what we're doing with the clay. And I think the two are so close, and they're so similar, and I think that's why God is using pottery.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for sharing that with us, Sarah, and thank you for having us in your wonderful pottery shed.
Oh, you're very welcome. Bye.
I'm just thinking, Mark, that, you know, no two handmade bits of pottery are identical. And I suppose, you know, people, we're all different, aren't we?
Yeah, you're right, Stuart. But, you know, no matter who we are, what we're like, what we're good at, or even how we feel about ourselves, as Christians, we understand that God wants to make us into who he meant us to be, to shape us into something wonderful and beautiful.
Yeah, and I did like what Sarah said about allowing God into our lives and trusting him.
It's an interesting thing to think on, and we'll leave you with that. For now, it's goodbye from Stuart and goodbye from me. We will see you in the next episode, but if you hold on for a moment, our very own Sarah will be with you with an activity for you to do. Bye for now.
Bye.
Wasn't it great to hear all about Sarah's pottery today and how that links with that story about Jeremiah watching the potter? Today, for your activity, we have got in your pack a lump of clay. And just like Sarah was saying, you can do anything with it. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to make a little pot. So what you can do is you can just take a lump of clay. I like to kind of roll it into a bit of a ball shape. Pop it down on the table. I'm using my bag that the clay came in just to keep my table nice and clean. And then all you do is you just press your fingers into the inside and lift the pot up on the outside. This is called a wee pinch pot. And then you can just use your hands to work around and make it nice and smooth. You can use your fingers just to smooth all the edges down. And once you've got your little pot, you can do, again, anything with it. You can take your little clay tool that's in your pack and draw some pictures or some patterns on it. You can use your fingers to press some pictures in. You could use your nails, whatever you like. The other way that you can make a pot is you can take a bit of your clay and roll it into a long snake. This is quite tricky to do on the bag, but you might be able to roll it on your table. Just make sure you wipe up afterwards. So we're going to roll it out into a nice long sausage. I'm going to get it nice and thin, not too thin that it breaks. And then all you do is you start in the middle and you coil it up to make a base. And then when you think your base is big enough, you just start up the side and you just spin it round to make your pot. And then when you've done all that, you might need to use another bit, make another snake, and then you just keep going and you build up round the edges with your coil to make a little pot. And then what you do when you're finished is you can just smooth all these edges out and all your coils together, and it just makes another little pot. Now you should have enough in your bag to make 2 wee pots, or like I said, you can use your clay and you can make whatever you like. You could make a little animal, you could make a house, you could make a person, anything at all. You can just let it dry for probably just overnight. If you've got any paint at home, you could use some paint to decorate it, or you can just leave it as it is. We'd love to see what you make, see how creative you can get with your clay, and we'd love to share that with our friend Sarah as well. So if you can pop onto our Facebook page and share some photographs there. If you don't have Facebook, do feel free to email us some of your pictures and we can maybe include those in our next episode. Have fun creating. See you later.